Very first thing I want to talk about when it comes to nouns in Spanish, person, place, or thing, taking you back to your elementary school days, is that there are only two types of nouns in Spanish. And I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what this is. So there are two types of nouns in Spanish. There are masculine and feminine nouns. And I will tell you, Spanish is not the only language that assigns gender to nouns. This is seen in a lot of different languages. And as you begin to learn and practice Spanish, you're going to see that nouns are thought of in a whole different way. And whether a noun is masculine or feminine not only affects that specific noun, it also affects the adjectives that surround that noun, the articles, the words that we use, that we translate into for those words in Spanish. Those are also changed dependent upon whether the noun is masculine or feminine. We're going to look at just some general rules as far as how to generally determine whether a noun, remember, a noun is a person, place, or thing, whether a noun is masculine or feminine. First off, and you probably picked this up from hearing Spanish or even from taking Spanish classes in the past, most nouns end in an O or an A. And typically, if a noun ends in an A, it is feminine. Typically, if a noun ends in an O, it is masculine. Of course, there are exceptions, but top of the line, if you're going to guess whether a noun that ends in an A is masculine or feminine, it's going to be probably most likely going to be feminine. If you see a noun that ends in an O, it's most likely going to be masculine, which means you choose the adjective and or the article based on whether it is masculine or feminine as well. And we'll look at examples of that in just a little bit here. The other thing that I want you to know is that there are nouns that end in other letters besides A and O. And don't be worried about figuring out whether those are masculine or feminine or not. There are definitely patterns that you can easily kind of cling to as you decide whether those are masculine or feminine in your normal interaction with Spanish on an everyday basis. And we'll look at those patterns as we go along, and I'll share those with you. You can also look up in a Spanish dictionary to see whether a noun is masculine or feminine. And the way that you'll do this is you'll look up a word. I'm hoping that you all have a Spanish English dictionary on hand. Look up a word. Let's say we looked up the word cat. Okay, how do I translate cat into Spanish? You're going to look up that word and you're going to see that it is gato. And right after or right before the word gato, you're going to see an M in parentheses. This shows that a word is masculine. You're going to see an F in parentheses if the word is feminine. So if I looked up the word for house, how do I say house? It's casa. If I looked up that word in a Spanish English dictionary, I'm going to see that in parentheses, right next to casa, there is an F in parentheses. And this is for all nouns. You can easily look up in a Spanish dictionary whether it's masculine or feminine. I mentioned before that there are a handful of exceptions to some of these rules. I want to share some of those exceptions with you. If you look up any list of exceptions, these are some that you're going to come to realize are just some commonly known exceptions. So I've already kind of explained how typically a word that ends in an A is feminine. Well, in this case, programa is actually masculine. It means program. El agua, which means water, a very common word, right, is actually masculine as well. El problema ends in an A. It means exactly what it looks like. It means problem. This is masculine as well. Avión, we haven't learned this quite yet, but if a word ends in an ION, it is typically feminine. In this case, avión, which means airplane, is actually masculine. La mano, common word, hand. So lava, las. manos instead of los, if you've seen that before. La, the O would typically signify that the word is masculine, but in this case, it is feminine. El mapa, typically, words that end in A are feminine, but in this case, masculine. It means map. El idioma means language. Again, we see that this one's masculine. El dia means day. It is masculine as well. La foto is feminine. And this actually comes from the longer word fotografia. So this one's a little different in that the full word is feminine, but if you just shorten it for photo, like we do in English as well, it looks like it's masculine, but in fact, it is feminine. All right, I hope that helps in your learning of Spanish and kind of getting you to jump headfirst and just an immediate difference between Spanish and English.